couple of weeks ago, I dropped a video on 10 insanely underrated players you've got to draft, and you guys loved it. But guess what? That list barely scratched the surface. So today, I'm diving into 5 more insanely underrated players that are flying way too far under the radar. And yes, you're going to want these guys on your team before your league mates even know what hit them. These are the kind of picks that win championships. Let's get it. Starting with Chris Godwin, who's currently going as pick 64, wide receiver 36. And this is happening despite the team and the GM saying they expect him to be ready week 1. Last year, prior to getting hurt at the end of the game in week 7, he was the wide receiver 2 in fantasy with only 1 less fantasy point than Ja'Marr Chase. Yes, just 1 less point over that stretch. He also had the 12th highest target share of all wide receivers last year. Even if he's not quite that good, though, in 2025, again, wide receiver 36, barely a wide receiver 3. You're telling me Chris Godwin isn't better than 10, 15 wide receivers being drafted ahead of him? He's still in this Buccaneers offense that is going to throw the ball a lot because despite needing help on defense, they didn't really do much on defense. So they're still going to be in plenty of shootouts. Not to mention, he plays about 60% of his snaps out of the slot. This is great because A, it gives him easier matchups against weaker corners more often, and B, it gives him the higher percentage throws, the easier completions. Even if he's not as good as he was last year, and look, he probably won't be, he's still going to be way better than 35 other wide receivers. This is an absolutely criminal spot for Chris Godwin, wide receiver 36 in fantasy drafts. I keep drafting this guy over and over again because I can't believe I can get a wide receiver this good this late in fantasy drafts. Speaking of good wide receivers going way too late, what about Jakobi Meyers? Pick 72, wide receiver 40. Over the last 2 years, this guy has finished as the wide receiver 25 and the wide receiver 20 in points per game. And he did this while playing with quarterbacks like Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell. I mean, not very good quarterbacks. Now he gets a true quarterback upgrade with Geno Smith, who's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the last couple of years. And if you look at the games last year without Davante Adams, he averaged 9.3 targets per game and 73 receiving yards per game. And yes, I like that they added Jack Bech. You know I'm a big fan of Jack Bech if you've been following the channel. But I don't think Jack Bech is coming in and immediately taking that wide receiver 1 role from Jakobi Meyers. And Geno Smith, just last year, helped Jackson Smith-Njigba to a massive year 2 breakout season. Why can't Jakobi Meyers do the same thing with Geno Smith? Now, obviously not a year 2 season for Jakobi, but I think Jakobi Meyers can legitimately have the best season of his entire career. And again, you're getting him as the wide receiver 40. You're telling me there are 39 better wide receivers than Jakobi Meyers? Get out of here with that nonsense. Jakobi Meyers, an absolute steal in fantasy drafts. You got to take as much of him as you can this year. This guy could legitimately help you win a championship. Now let's go to quarterback. And if you're not taking one of the elite quarterbacks, I think you got to take Baker Mayfield. Pick 92, QB7. In his 2 years with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he's thrown for over 4,000 yards in each of those years. And last year, he had over 380 rushing yards. He gives you kind of sneaky rushing upside. No, not to the degree of those elite quarterbacks, but enough to give him value as a running quarterback as well. And when we're talking about those elite quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, yeah, they're being drafted as elite quarterbacks for a reason because of that rushing upside. But once you get past those guys, I'm not taking Joe Burrow right after those guys. I'm just going to wait 4, 5, 6 more rounds sometimes and just take Baker Mayfield. This guy gives you weekly QB1 upside with a very high weekly floor, and you're getting him at a much later price than you are a guy like Joe Burrow. And as I said when I talked about Chris Godwin, this Buccaneers defense probably not going to be very good again this year, which means plenty of shootouts for the Buccaneers, plenty of pass attempts for Baker Mayfield, and now they just added another weapon for him to go along with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan. So even if he loses some pass catchers to injury, it's okay. He's got plenty more sitting on the bench waiting to get called up. So Baker Mayfield probably going to be a QB1 again this season. And again, he's being underrated. And if you're ready to get your fantasy football fix on and start drafting right now, you got to check out UnderdogFantasy.com. They have best ball drafts going on all off season long, including their flagship Best Ball Mania 6, which is going to make multiple millionaires in 2025. Just go to UnderdogFantasy.com, join using promo code ENDGAME, because not only is that going to get you a free pick that you can use among any sport, but also up to $1,000 in bonus cash that you can use to start drafting right now. Now let's give tight end some love with Evan Ingram, currently going pick 109, tight end 9. Now I admit it, I was way too high on Evan Ingram last year. I thought he was a steal last year. I was like, what's going on here? This guy's been the tight end 7 and the tight end 4 the last 2 years, and we're just going to write this guy off. Well, maybe all of you were right and I was wrong because he wasn't very good. Then he got hurt and he missed the rest of the season. But I love this landing spot in Denver because Sean Payton has already said he wants Evan Ingram to be his joker. Now look, nobody outside of Sean Payton knows what the heck the joker role even is. But the fact is, it's a role and Sean Payton likes it, and that's all that matters. And when you look at the pass catchers on the Broncos last year, no pass catcher had even 60 targets outside of Courtland Sutton. So there is a ton of opportunity here for Evan Ingram to potentially be the number 2 target in this Broncos offense. And like I said, prior to last year, he had finished as a top 7, even a top 4 tight end each of the prior 2 years. So you're getting a potentially set and forget tight end that you can just have in your lineup every week of the season at a major discount compared to the other elite set and forget tight ends that you have to draft in 2025. You know how I feel about the tight end position. It's the most overrated, useless position in fantasy. If you can punt the position and get a set and forget guy later, you have a massive advantage over the rest of your league. So I'm just going to wait a lot in drafts this year and just take Evan Ingram outside the top 100 picks because I think he's way, way underrated in 2025. And then finally, how about a running back who's always underrated and everybody loves to hate, and that is Najee Harris, currently going pick 111, running back 35. I know you all hate Najee Harris, but I don't know why you all hate Najee Harris. I mean, this guy has been a more than solid running back as far as NFL standards go. Now, I know for fantasy he hasn't been great, but I don't think he's been bad as you think. He's gone over 1,000 rushing yards every year of his career. He's had 8 or more touchdowns in 3 of his 4 years, and he's been a top 25 running back even in fantasy, in 3 of his 4 years. Now, of course, the expectations were a lot higher than Najee Harris to just be an RB2, but the fact is he's been a productive running back in real life and for fantasy. And what you also got to love about Najee Harris, and what I bet Jim Harbaugh is going to love about Najee Harris, is this guy is dependable. He rarely fumbles, and he never misses a game. He has not missed a game since his sophomore year of college. Now, sure, at any time, anybody can get hurt, but when we talk about durability, nobody has been more durable than Najee Harris. And of course, I know they drafted Omarion Hampton, and Omarion Hampton is a great talent. But I think Najee Harris is still good enough to at least hold off Omarion Hampton for this to be a 50-50 split. Last year might have been the best year he's had as a runner. He was 9th in evaded tackles and 17th in explosive rating. And we know this Chargers offense wants to run the football. It's a good offensive line. They want to run the football. There is enough here for both Hampton and Najee Harris. The difference is you got to take Hampton as a top 50, top 60 pick, and you're getting Najee Harris outside the top 110 picks. I'm fine drafting Hampton. I'm not out on Hampton, but if I don't get Hampton, I'm totally fine taking Najee Harris 6, 7, 8 rounds later because I think Najee Harris, again, can give you solid RB2 value week in and week out. And that's hard to find, especially in this range, when most of the running backs around here are nothing more than high-end handcuffs. So there it is, 5 more insanely underrated players for 2025. But if you missed a video breaking down the 10 insanely underrated players, you can find that and much, much more in our playlist right here.